What's good? What's good? It's the one and only, but what do I know? Boxing coming back at y'all with another one, man. So we got Caleb Plant in the news, bro. I just recently saw an interview that he did today with the Boxing Hub, I believe, or Fight Hype, one of them. Fight Hub, Fight Hype, one of them. But anyways, where he was speaking and they were asking about his return. And Caleb Plant responded by saying hopefully he'll be back in the beginning of 2026. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about, put out a little frustration here, bro. This is the problem with the PBC right now, bro. And listen, I understand that the PBC has done wonders for boxing. Despite what people will say, PBC when you talk about boxing from 2015, when the PBC, generally started, up until this point right here, you can't talk about some of the greatest fights that we had without involving the PBC. It's just impossible. Whether you guys want to admit it or not, PBC has put on some great events. And again, since 2015, if we're talking about 2015, we can't talk about the biggest events without being a PBC fighter. And if you want to take it a step further, going all the way back to 2010, we can't talk about a fight from 2010 that hasn't involved an Al Haymon fighter when we talk about big events. Al Haymon has done great. PBC has done great for the sport, but I think it's just time for the PBC to go ahead and let these fighters be free, because they're being detrimental to their career. And regardless of what people want to say, I know, and even with me saying that, giving the praise or props to PBC for what they have done for the sport, I said that to say I'm not. With me criticizing them, it's not me just criticizing oh yeah, you're just turning your back on the PBC. No, I'm looking out for the fighters. I'm frustrated for the fighters because I'm a genuine fan, and it's frustrating me that these fighters are not as active as they should be. Caleb Plant just lost to Resendez, a fight that he should not have lost. Many people felt like he should have, he was supposed to win that fight, and Resendez came in and he beat Caleb Plant. Now, he hasn't fought since September. Well, he fought in May against Resendez, right? But then before that, he hadn't fought since September of last year, and then before that, it was like March of 2023. But he's been he hasn't been active. He hasn't been super inactive. I know fighters that's been more inactive than what he has been, but he hasn't been active though. And or it's super active, and this is what's hurting these fighters' career. Caleb Plant just lost in May, and he's saying hopefully he'll be back in the beginning of 2026. And just think of that right there, hopefully. So we all know when a fighter says hopefully I'll be back at this time, or hopefully we can get a fight this time, 9 times out of 10 they're not. I've heard that so many times where fighters say, hopefully we can get a fight in October or something like that, and I promise you it never happens. As a matter of fact, I don't know of a time where I can actually even think of a fighter when they say, hopefully I can get a fight in around this time, and it actually happened. I actually, to be honest, I can't think of a time. If you guys can, let me know in the comment section. But anytime a fighter says, hopefully we can get a fight in at this time, it's not gonna happen. So when he says hopefully he can get a fight in the beginning of 2026, that just that irritated the heck out of me, because it's like, bro, in retrospect, in hindsight, how in the world are you supposed to, and I'm talking to the PBC at this point, how can you build a fighter with that type of schedule? How is Caleb Plant supposed to rebrand himself with that type of schedule? And in hindsight, and when boxing, in the way boxing is supposed to run, Caleb Plant loses in May. He should already have a fight lined up in October, so we can go ahead and we see his last fight, we can go ahead and forget about that. But he's talking about hopefully he gets a fight in the beginning of 2026, which lets me to believe we're probably not going to see Caleb Plant until April or May of 2026. Hell, maybe even further. So, bro, that's, and how does Caleb Plant rebrand himself by doing that? How does that help his career? How does he keep his accomplish his goals in the sport with that type of schedule, bro. It makes absolutely no sense, and that's the problem with what's wrong. That's the problem with boxing, or the problem with the PBC, should I say. And like, these dudes are just too inactive, bro. That's killing their career. You have a few guys that will sit there and say, oh, if they're inactive, they're preserving themselves. No. That is not how it works, bro. When you're inactive, you're killing your career. You're hurting your career by doing that, bro. Because I guarantee you, watch this, bro, right? Caleb Plant is what is Caleb Plant? What's his record? Let me look it up real quick. I got my laptop with me. My bad. His record is 23-3 with 14 knockouts. All right. The last time Caleb Plant fought twice in a year was 2021. It is 2025. So that's another 4 fights that he's missing from. At least 4 fights at the very least. Because really in 2021, he really could have fought 3 times, because he fought January 2021, then he fought in November. I always feel like if a fighter fights in January of any year, they need to be fighting 3 times that year. But anyways, that's at least 4 fights that he's missing off of his career. At least 4 fights. Okay? Imagine if he would have stayed active, bro, in that time. If he would have stayed active, imagine, do you think he would have lost to somebody like Resendez? No. He probably wouldn't even be fighting somebody like Resendez if he would have been active. Caleb Plant is not active, bro. That is 4 fights he's missing. That's sad to me, bro. Fighting once a year. These fighters at least at Caleb Plant's level should at least be fighting twice a year. At the least. And in some cases, 3 times a year. Jamal Charlo, it's just September. He did fight May. What's that, May? June, July, August, September. That's 4 months. Do we have anything? We got anything locked in for him? No. He probably won't come back until March or April of next year either. Like, bro, for me, I just feel like this. My frustration is solely because I care about the fighters. PBC just needs to do its best and let these fighters go so they can be active. Let these fighters sign the DAZN. Let these fighters go to wherever they need to go. Whoever's willing to sign them so they can be active. Because this schedule right here, bro, I don't understand. How do you expect to have a fan base? How do you expect to have a solid fan base with these fighters when they're inactive? How do you expect to build a star and it seems like they're not even trying to build a star with these fighters being inactive? How do you expect these fighters to accomplish goals with them being inactive? That's why a loss is so detrimental to these fighters. That's why you see a lot of PBC fighters not trying to fight other top fighters, because, bro, a loss is much more harmful to somebody's career when you're only fighting once a year, right, or once every 16 months, rather than a fighter that's active. A fighter that's fighting 2-3 times a year, a loss ain't finna do nothing to their career. A loss ain't finna affect them. They're gonna lose and they're gonna come back and we're gonna forget about it, bro. But a fighter that's only fighting once every 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 months, a loss is much more harmful to them. And imagine, what is Caleb Plant gonna do next? We could have had the Jamal Charlo fight. That was in line, bro. The build up for that was amazing, bro. The infamous slap happened. They had like 24 million views, bro. It's one short that got like 24 million views off of that, bro. If they would have made that fight at that particular time, let me see, that was at 2023 when he slapped him, and then he ended up fighting. Who did he fight? I don't think. Oh, because Caleb Plant, he didn't fight. He had fought, what's his name, Benavidez earlier in 2023. He slapped him, bro. If him and Jamal Charlo could have fought that year, that slap was in July. If they could have fought like in October or November, bro, that would have sold the hell out of that fight, bro. But they didn't take advantage of it. This is what's going on. I don't know if the PBC, I don't know. They got to be going broke because this is ridiculous. But that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Do you agree with what I'm saying about the PBC? Do you want to see Caleb Plant fighting? Who do you want to see him fight next? But what do I know?